You know that feeling. Whether you're a creator or a fan, you've probably felt it. That sense that you're just, well, a user on someone else's platform, playing by rules that can change in a heartbeat. Today, we're diving into a really powerful new model that's all about putting the power back where it belongs. All right, let's get right to the heart of it. We're talking about a massive shift from what we call a rented audience, where you're basically at the mercy of big tech platforms, to an owned audience, where you build and control your very own world. Think of it like this. It's the difference between renting an apartment and actually owning your own house. So what's the big deal with this rented model anyway? Well, for both creators and fans, it can be pretty frustrating. You've got communities that are scattered across a dozen different apps, you're constantly fighting against unpredictable algorithms that decide who sees what, and there's just this lack of a real direct connection. But what if there was another way? An alternative where instead of just borrowing a tiny corner of someone else's internet, you could actually build your own digital home from the ground up. Now that is the big idea that completely flips the script. And this alternative? It has a name, Social Networks as a Service, or SNaaS for short. Now I know, it might sound a little technical, but the concept is actually incredibly simple. It's about giving creators the keys to build their very own digital kingdom. So here's the most important thing to get. SNaaS is not another social media platform you have to go join. Nope. Think of it more like a toolkit. It gives an artist or a film studio or a gaming company the foundational infrastructure so they can create their own custom-built social world just for their fans.
Okay, so that's the theory. But how does this actually work for the entertainment we all know and love? Let's take a look at how it's being applied out there in the real world.
First up, let's talk about the music industry. We all know that streaming services give artists incredible reach, which is great, but they often lack a true sense of community. And of course, there's the whole pennies per stream problem that we've all heard about.
And this is where SNaaS comes in. It lets artists create these dedicated super fan hubs. Imagine a single place for exclusive content drops, early access to tickets, and real, direct interaction with the artist. It's a model that can turn passive listeners into a truly loyal, paying community. Next, let's talk film and TV. You know how it is. The hype for a new movie or a big season finale is absolutely huge. The internet is buzzing. But what happens a few weeks later? That energy just kind of fizzles out and gets scattered to the winds. The solution here is for studios to use SNaaS to create living universes, a permanent home for a franchise. It becomes a dedicated space where fans can dive deep into fan theories, get behind-the-scenes content, and maybe even take part in interactive stories. This turns a temporary burst of hype into a permanent digital asset for that IP.
All right, moving on to an industry where community is, well, everything: gaming and esports. The conversation, the collaboration, the competition. I mean, that's the absolute lifeblood of any successful game.
With the SNaaS model, game developers don't have to send their players off to third-party platforms anymore. They can build the social layers right into their own world. They can host their own tournaments, share developer diaries, and create a dedicated home for their modding communities, all inside a space that they actually own and control. And finally, let's look at live events. Think about a huge music festival or a major convention. The energy for those few days is absolutely incredible, right? But the biggest challenge is always, how do you keep that feeling alive for the other 362 days of the year? SNaaS gives you that year-round connection point. It becomes the digital hub where attendees can go to relive the best moments, connect with the people they met there, and get exclusive offers for the next event. It completely transforms a one-off experience into a perpetual, ongoing community.
So after looking at all these different examples, what's the real big takeaway here? It really all boils down to truly owning the relationship with your fans, and that ownership stands on three really important pillars.
It all comes down to these three things. First, you get absolute control. You're no longer at the mercy of some random algorithm. Second, directness. You cut out the middleman and connect straight to your audience. And third, personalization. You can create these amazing, authentic experiences that the giant platforms just can't replicate. And that second point, the whole direct-to-consumer thing, leads to this, 100%. When you remove that middleman, you can capture 100% of the value that your community generates. From memberships to merch, it all goes directly to the creator. I mean, that is a total economic game changer. So when you put all of this together, you start to realize that SNaaS isn't just a new tool or a new piece of tech. It really represents a fundamental shift in the power dynamic of the entire digital entertainment industry. And let's end on this really powerful statement from the source material, which I think just nails it. The entertainment industry is no longer at the mercy of the platform. The industry is the platform. In other words, it's a move from being the renter to being the landlord. Which leaves us with a final question to think about. As a fan, would you be willing to join a dedicated, custom-built universe for your favorite artist, movie, or game, even if it meant you'd spend less time on mainstream social media? The answer to that question might just define the entire future of fandom.